Welcome back to the Irish Bandit channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I am your host, the one, the only, the second Irish Bandit, and today we are continuing on with my top 10 favorite movies of all time. This one coming in at number 5. Now, I do want to clarify one thing really quickly before we continue on. In the Batman Begins review, or sometime before that, I was saying that Batman Begins and the movie coming in at number 5 were the only two superhero comic book movies that were on my list. That was incorrect because in entry number 4, which is coming very, very soon, that is also a superhero comic book movie, but we'll talk more about that when we get to that entry. But today we're talking about what I think is, I don't ever think a movie is perfect per se, but this one comes really, really damn close. It has one of my all-time favorite portrayals of my favorite comic book villain, supervillain, whatever you want to call him. And when I heard the casting for this one, it kind of took me aback a little bit. I didn't think he would do a good job given his past resume. But then he just absolutely blew me away as the role of the Joker. Of course, I think you know who I'm talking about when I talk about Heath Ledger as the Joker. This is my 5th favorite movie of all time and probably my favorite Batman movie. And you know how much I love Batman. Coming in at number 5, The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was released in July of 2008 and of course once again stars Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne / Batman. Also returning from The Dark Knight includes Michael Caine as Alfred, Gary Oldman as Lieutenant Gordon, who's now Lieutenant from being bumped up from his original rank of Sergeant, I think, in the first movie. Also returning as Lucius Fox, Morgan Freeman, and replacing Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawes is Maggie Gyllenhaal. Maggie Gyllenhaal, of course, the sister of Jake Gyllenhaal, who is also in Brokeback Mountain with Heath Ledger. And Heath Ledger, of course, in that amazing role of the Joker. You also had Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent. Such a wonderful, wonderful cast. Once again, it was directed by the one and only Christopher Nolan, with music by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard again. It cost $185 million to make and pulled in a worldwide total of over $1 billion. This was one of the most highly anticipated movies of all time. Now, I'm not going to go too much into detail about the plot of the movie, but oh man, just fantastic. Nolan's inspiration for the film was the Joker's comic book debut in 1940, the '88 graphic novel The Killing Joke, one of my favorites, which has really been disowned by Alan Moore, who wrote the script for the Killing Joke. The '96 series Long Halloween, which is actually a very good story arc as well. A little iffy about the artwork, but the story itself is fantastic. Long Halloween told Harvey Dent's origins. Let's see, considered one of the best films of its decade and one of the greatest and most influential films of all time. Okay. I was gonna dispute that one, but nah, there's no disputing that one. So I'll quickly go into the plot of a little bit. Gang of criminals robs a Gotham City mob bank. The Joker manipulates them into murdering each other just for the sake of chaos. It's basically what it's all about, because you could tell with what he was saying at the end of the movie, that was where I felt the Killing Joke inspiration came in. And it was just so well done. Just what a captivating performance by Heath Ledger in this movie. But we're going to talk about that in the things that I loved about this movie. So I very well can't start off talking about the things I loved about The Dark Knight without talking about the role of the Joker played by the late, great Heath Ledger. Now, when I first heard the casting of Heath Ledger as the Joker, I thought to myself, wait a minute. Heath Ledger is this handsome, pretty boy who was in A Knight's Tale, 10 Things I Hate About You, all these romantic movies. Even Brokeback Mountain could be considered a romantic movie as well. No, I'm not going to get into my political stance here, but either way. So when I heard the casting of Heath Ledger, I didn't think he'd do a great job. Well, he did an outstanding job as the Joker, and unfortunately, because of what it did to him in the end. It ultimately ended up costing his life in the long run after everything that happened with the filming and getting into the character of the Joker. And just, that's another discussion for another day. And yeah, Heath Ledger did such an amazing job. But when you're coming off, when you're doing a role like the Joker and you have like Cesar Romero and you have Jack Nicholson, who all did great roles of the Joker. Like, I'm still going to defend Cesar Romero as the Joker. He was a great pick for the time. Jack Nicholson, another great fit for the time. I was watching, was it his review of The Dark Knight? I was watching The Nostalgia Critic, and he said that every new Joker takes something from the previous Joker. And I think we saw that with the casting of Heath Ledger in this role. Something else I loved about the movie is that the action scenes were done so much better than the first movie. It's like Christopher Nolan learned from his mistakes from the first movie and just changed everything around and was like, no, we're going to do it this way now. Again, an amazing score from Hans Zimmer. I will always defend anything Hans Zimmer does, be it this movie, Batman Begins, Last Samurai, which we've already talked about in previous videos. Just an amazing, amazing, amazing score. Just that rousing. I loved the recasting of Rachel Dawes. I thought Maggie Gyllenhaal did a much, much better performance as Rachel than Katie Holmes did in the first one. And she didn't suffer from that youngitis, as I like to call it, where she looked too young to be playing this role. She looked age appropriate for the role of Rachel Dawes, and it just worked so well. And I remember hearing a lot of stuff leading up to the movie about what was happening from people who watched it. And they were like, oh yeah, it's gonna make you cry, it's gonna make you cry. It happened so fast that it didn't even register with me. So I kind of like that it didn't make me cry. It made me feel emotional, but I mean, if you've watched The Dark Knight, you know what scene I'm talking about. I loved Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent. He was a great choice. Well, I mean, when the previous Harvey Dent, you have to go on as Tommy Lee Jones, I think it's not hard to improve upon. And that's no guff towards Tommy Lee Jones. I think he's an amazing actor, one of the best of his time, even today, you know. With the role he had in Captain America, that was a fantastic role for him. I don't think Two-Face was the role for him, but when you're working off somebody like Jim Carrey in Batman Forever, what can you do? But I think that Aaron Eckhart did a fantastic job in this role. I thought the origin of Harvey Dent Two-Face was just awesome. The returning cast was all great. Michael Caine, of course, Sean as Alfred. Gary Oldman giving another fantastic performance as Jim Gordon. I love the whole story arc they had there, trying to dupe the Joker. It was just so well executed, and has one of my favorite action scenes when they flipped the semi. That was so perfect. I cheered when I saw that part. It was so well done. And of course, Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox just returning. I love the moral conflict he had near the end of the movie when Batman had that sonar set up, how he just felt it was so wrong. I think Christian Bale really came into his own. He still had stuff that I didn't like, and I will get to that in a second. But I think Christian Bale really came into his own in this movie, and he just did a fantastic job. Like I said, I don't feel any movie is ever perfect, and we're going to talk about the minor little nitpicks that I had about this movie right now. So like I said, any gripe I have with this movie is like very, very minor. It's a nitpick, if anything, but I still found the Batman voice grating. Like I said in Batman Begins, you can do a different voice for Bruce Wayne and Batman, but don't make it sound like you're gargling gravel. Like, I mean, again, I will always come back to this one. Kevin Conroy did it perfectly with the higher register for Bruce Wayne, but then bringing it down to that low register for Batman. I thought he is the example I will always look forward to for something like that. But that's really my only major nitpick. I can't find any other flaw with this movie. It was just so well done, so good. And like I said, I go back to the casting, but Heath Ledger was a great choice as the Joker. I love everything he put into this role. It was just, yeah. As far as nitpicks, things I didn't like, yeah, that was about the only thing. Just still that voice. It's hard to get past. I'm sorry, but I mean, other than that, this is just a fantastic, fantastic movie. I absolutely love Dark Knight. If you're a Batman fan like I am, you owe it to yourself to watch this movie. It is so good. Just moves at a good pace for being quite a long movie, honestly. But it moves at such a good pace. The performances are all stellar in it. Especially, I can't rave enough about Heath Ledger's role as the Joker. He set the bar, and I don't think anybody has really come close, maybe with the exception of Joaquin Phoenix. But, I mean, Heath Ledger, right now, for me, is still the standard bearer for what a Joker should be, and I absolutely love The Dark Knight. It is my favorite Batman movie. But we still have 4 more movies to go in my countdown, so we're going to talk about the next one in a little bit. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. What did you think of The Dark Knight? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'd really love to read that. In the description down below, you're going to see a link to all of my social media, my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, my Redbubble store where you can pick up all your Irish Bandit merchandise. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and if you're already subscribed, tap the bell and you'll be notified whenever a new video goes live. The next video we're going to be talking about is another superhero movie, also based on a DC property or DC imprint. We'll just say that, and just remember remember that. That may have been a hint. Actually, that was a hint, but we'll talk about that movie next time. Guys, have a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon.